I stared out at the sea of strangers clapping politely in the grand auditorium, the name Emily Lane Patterson echoing overhead. That was me, the first college graduate in our entire family. The culmination of 4 years of late nights, double shifts, ramen noodles, and relentless self-doubt. And not a single person stood up for me. My hand shook as I accepted my degree, gripping the cold paper like it could ground me, like it could fill the void of two empty seats in the second row. Reserved for family, the placards had read, still fluttering slightly from the breeze of passing bodies. I had even printed them myself, just in case. Just in case they changed their minds. They didn't. Mom had texted that morning. "So sorry, Em, something came up. But we're so proud of you. Don't be mad." And Dad? Nothing. Not a word. I checked my phone between every speech. Nothing. Not even a congrats. I wore a red dress under my gown, the same one Mom had helped me pick out for high school prom. She said it made me look like I belonged on the cover of Harvard magazine. I wore it hoping it would make her proud again. I had even done my makeup the way she liked, soft pink tones, nothing too bold. But no one was there to see it. And just 3 weeks later, my parents flew cross-country to throw my younger brother Tyler a catered backyard bash for his high school graduation. There were tents, lights, a 3-tier cake, a DJ, spinning early 2000s classics, while cousins and uncles danced drunk in the grass. My aunt streamed it on Facebook Live. That's how I found out. No one had even told me. At first I thought it was old footage, but then I saw Tyler wearing his new hair color and impulsive bleach job he did in May. That's when my stomach turned. I watched as Dad toasted him with tears in his eyes, slurring, "You're everything I could have ever hoped for in a son." Not child, son. That night I lay in my tiny apartment, the one I paid for with work study and serving tables, watching that video over and over like it was a car crash. My own family celebrating someone who had never worked half as hard as I had. Someone who, unlike me, had failed 2 classes and almost didn't graduate. And that's when the shame started to twist into something else. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to shrink. I was going to make sure they never forgot this moment. The moment they taught me exactly what I meant to them. And the moment I showed them exactly who I had become. I wasn't born bitter. I became that way slowly, carefully over time. Growing up in Maplewood, Oregon, I was the classic good girl. I was the one who kept the family calendar organized, the one who remembered Dad's cholesterol meds, reminded Mom about her therapy appointments, and volunteered to sit with Grandma on Saturdays when Tyler wanted to go skateboarding with his friends. I didn't resent it. Not at first. I thought it was just love repaid in small duties. My mom used to joke Emily came out of the womb holding a clipboard. I took it as a compliment. She always said I was dependable while Tyler was Tyler. He was wild, impulsive, the kind of kid who got suspended for writing song lyrics on his math tests, who snuck out of the house at 15 and came back with a piercing and a grin. But he made them laugh. That was his currency. Me, I earned my praise through effort. Awards, GPA, clean rooms, and no drama. I learned early that the quieter I was about my needs, the more valuable I seemed. Still, I noticed the shift around the time I hit high school. When I won a statewide essay contest, Dad smiled politely but quickly changed the subject to how Tyler scored 3 points in his JV basketball game. "Your sister just got published in a national magazine," my English teacher once told my mom at a parent-teacher night. Mom blinked. "Oh, really? That's nice." Tyler just auditioned for the school play. There was always a dismissive softness to their tone when it came to me, like I was a safe bet. Like my success didn't need celebration, it was just expected. So I buried my pride and pushed harder. I applied to every scholarship I could find, stayed late after school to help teachers grade papers, and took on part-time jobs from age 16. Also, I could get out, get ahead, and maybe one day make them proud. When I got into Columbia on a partial scholarship, I was shaking when I told them. Mom hugged me but didn't make eye contact. New York. Dad said, lips twitching like he'd bitten a lemon. "You sure that's not too far?" "It's not even a full ride," Mom added. "How are we going to help you with that?" They helped a little with groceries the first semester, sent one care package. But by second year, I was invisible. Tyler had gotten into a state school barely, and even though he was flunking half his courses and drinking like it was a class, they sent him money monthly and checked in weekly. When I asked Mom why they never called me anymore, she said, "We just figured you were always busy. You're so independent." That word again. Independent. Their euphemism for neglected. The last time I saw them before graduation, it was Thanksgiving my junior year. I flew home using my own money. They barely noticed I was there, too preoccupied with Tyler's breakup drama and his new acoustic guitar. I ate cold mashed potatoes and tried not to feel like a guest in my own childhood home. When senior year came, I sent out invites to my graduation 6 weeks in advance. I even texted reminders. No one responded. I booked 2 extra tickets anyway. The final phone call came the night before the ceremony. I answered on the first ring. "Hey, sweetie," Mom said like she hadn't ghosted me for months. "Listen, Dad's not feeling great, and the flights were insane. Tyler's final recital is next weekend, and we're just stretched too thin." I didn't say a word. I just listened to her fill the silence with lies. "You understand, right?" she added. "You always do." Yes, that was my role. The one who understood. The one who sacrificed. The one who didn't need cheering from the crowd because she'd already won on paper. But as I stood alone in the middle of that auditorium clutching my diploma, I realized something for the first time. They weren't proud of me. Not because I hadn't earned it, but because I hadn't demanded it. Because I didn't entertain them or fail enough to be rescued or act out loud enough to scare them into paying attention. That night I opened a bottle of cheap champagne and drank it alone. Then I logged onto Facebook. That's when I saw it. Tyler in the backyard. Balloons, streamers, a custom cake shaped like a football field even though he hadn't played since junior year. Dozens of guests. My mother in a floral dress I'd never seen. My dad in khakis holding a champagne flute, the same kind I drank from in silence. I watched as they gave toast after toast. As they shouted, "We're so proud of you," over the DJ's bass. I saw my old neighbors dancing with cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, and I saw them, my parents, laughing like none of it had cost anything, like I was just a footnote in a brighter story. I closed the app, set the glass down, and stared at the wall for a long time. That was the moment everything shifted. I didn't cry. I didn't spiral. I went silent, not the silence of surrender, but the silence before the strike. That's when I started planning the gift, the one they would never forget. I wish I could say the graduation party was the only betrayal, that I could write off their absence as a one-time lapse in judgment. But betrayal, I've come to learn, is rarely a single act. It's a slow erosion, 100 small choices that accumulate like rust on the bones of a relationship until one day the whole thing just crumbles under its own weight. And that day came for me just a week after I saw the Facebook live stream. It was mid-June. I'd just started a paid internship at a publishing house in Manhattan, something I'd fought tooth and nail for. I was living off black coffee and dollar-slice pizza, commuting an hour each way from a tiny sublet in Harlem, trying to hold myself together with the fraying threads of ambition and caffeine. Then I got a letter from the university's billing office. At first I thought it was a mistake. I had triple-checked everything before graduation. My scholarships, my loans, the grants. Every penny had been accounted for. But the letter was clear. Outstanding balance 1987.62. Final notice before collections. My stomach turned. I read it 3 times. It made no sense. I called the office. Waited on hold for 42 minutes. When I finally got someone on the line, they confirmed the final tuition installment hadn't gone through. The payment which my parents had promised they'd cover as their gift to me had bounced. "I'm sorry," the woman said gently. "We sent multiple reminders. You were copied on the email threads." No, I wasn't. Because they hadn't used my email. They'd used my parents'. I hung up, heart racing, and called my mom. She picked up on the second ring, chipper and bright. "Emily." "Hi, honey, how's the Big Apple treating you?" I skipped the small talk. "Mom, did you know the last tuition payment didn't go through?" A pause. "Then oh, that." My skin went cold. "What do you mean that?" "Well," she sighed. "We meant to tell you. Things have just been a little tight. Your dad's truck needed new brakes, and we've had to help Tyler with some car repairs too. You know how it is." I clenched my jaw. "You said you'd pay it, that it was your gift." "I know, sweetie, and we really wanted to. But we figured you'd figure something out. You always do." That sentence. You always do. My head went light. I felt the world spinning in place like I was watching it from outside my own body. So you covered Tyler's car repairs instead. It wasn't that much. It was almost 2 grand, Mom. Well, it's not like we're made of money, and Tyler's still trying to find his footing. He really needs us right now. And I didn't. Had I ever? I felt something in me snap, not loudly, not explosively, but like the soft pop of a cord that's been pulled too tightly for too long. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "Thanks for clearing that up," and hung up. Then I sat on the floor of my sublet, staring at the letter again. Final notice. Collections. Credit damage. For a bill I was promised would be handled. It wasn't just about the money, it was the message: you don't matter as much as he does. Not your success. Not your debt. Not your sleepless nights or the fact that you moved 3,000 miles away to chase something better. I thought of every time I'd swallowed my hurt. Every time I'd told myself they mean well, they're doing their best, just keep going. And I realized something else. They weren't going to change. They weren't going to wake up one day and become the parents I needed them to be. But I could become someone else. I could become someone who stopped hoping for scraps and started setting fires. The first step was gathering ammunition. That night, I created a new folder on my laptop and named it Operation Red Dress. I started with receipts, literally. Every scholarship award letter, every academic honor, every tuition receipt that showed I had paid my way. I organized screenshots of my student loan breakdowns and emails from professors praising my work. Then I began collecting evidence of their favoritism. Social media posts, text messages. The time they drove 8 hours for Tyler's music festival, but said a weekend in New York was just too much. I even found an old voicemail from Dad telling me to stop making things about you. I saved it all. I wasn't entirely sure yet what I would do with it, but I knew I was going to use it. Then, in a final twist of fate that felt too perfect to be real, I got a call from my Aunt Lisa, the only relative who ever really saw me. She was the black sheep of the family, divorced twice, brutally honest, and a little too fond of boxed wine. But she had a kind heart and a steel trap memory. "You doing okay, kid?" she asked. "Heard about the party." I didn't lie. "No, not really," she sighed. "I shouldn't be saying this, but your mom was bragging about it for weeks. Said they were making it up to Tyler for his rough year. Said you'd understand." There it was again. That line. I stayed quiet, unsure what to say. Then she added, "They really don't see you, do they?" My throat tightened. "No," I whispered. "They don't." She paused. "Well, maybe it's time you make them." That night, something shifted in me. I wasn't going to beg for love anymore. I wasn't going to prove my worth to people who refused to see it. But I was going to give them something they couldn't ignore, something unforgettable. And it all started with a plan. The idea didn't come all at once. Revenge, when it's born from years of quiet pain, doesn't explode. It brews. It curdles in your gut. It sharpens itself on old memories and new wounds. It becomes something else, a mission. And mine, it began with an invitation. 3 months after graduation, Mom emailed me, subject line Thanksgiving plans. I didn't open it right away. I let it sit unopened like a ticking bomb in my inbox. But I knew what it would say. Some overly cheery nonsense about how everyone's looking forward to having the whole family together again, like the last year hadn't happened. Like she hadn't let me walk the biggest stage of my life alone. When I finally opened it, I was right. "Hope NYC is treating you well. Just wanted to check if you're coming home for Thanksgiving. Tyler is bringing his new girlfriend and we're doing a big dinner this year. Grandma's coming and we'd love to have you too." She even added, "We'll cook your favorites." My favorites, they hadn't made my favorite anything in years. Hell, I wasn't even sure they knew what I liked anymore. But I hit reply. "Sounds great. I'll be there." And so the stage was set. My plan wasn't loud. It didn't involve screaming or public meltdowns, no viral Facebook posts or family shaming in group chats. What I wanted was something different. I wanted a reckoning, quiet, precise, devastating. I began with the gift. I ordered a custom photo book from a premium service online. The cover was embossed in gold, in celebration of family, the Patterson legacy. Inside each glossy page told a story. On one side, a memory of me solo. Me in the hospital with a broken arm at age 8, they'd been at Tyler's swim meet. Me winning a state writing contest while they vacationed with friends. Me in my dorm room on move-in day, posing beside unopened boxes while holding the phone FaceTiming them since they couldn't get away that weekend. On the facing page, a memory of Tyler captioned in their own words pulled from social media. "So proud of our boy Tyler today. Wouldn't miss this moment for the world." Celebrating our son's bravery. That was for the time he got a nose piercing. The contrast was nauseating. Perfect. Next came the financials. I compiled a spreadsheet. Yes, a spreadsheet documenting every cent I'd spent on my education compared to what they'd promised to help with. Column A. Emily's actual costs. Column B. Pledged contributions. Column C. Unfulfilled promises. I highlighted the final tuition payment, the one that nearly ruined my credit score. Then I wrote a letter, not angry, not bitter, just factual. Dear Mom and Dad, thank you for the many lessons you've taught me over the years. Some were intentional, most were not. But I learned anyway. You taught me to be self-reliant, to expect nothing and still give my all. You taught me how to disappear in a room full of people and how to make peace with being second no forgotten. You may not realize it, but you helped shape me into a woman who no longer waits for permission to be seen. This book is a gift, a record, a mirror. I hope you flip through it carefully. I hope for once you see me. Happy Thanksgiving, Emily. I printed it on heavy linen paper and tucked it into the back cover of the photo book. Then I booked my flight. I hadn't been home in nearly 2 years, and the moment I stepped off the plane, I felt it, the thick, suffocating air of my childhood. It clung to me like guilt. At baggage claim, Dad was waiting, holding a cardboard sign that said EM, like I was a guest at a hotel. Hey kiddo, he said awkwardly, hugging me with one arm. You look older. You too, I said, smiling just enough to hide the poison. The car ride home was stiff. Mom texted while he drove. So excited you're here. Tyler and Nina are already helping with the table. They were planning something big, of course. Their precious son and his new girlfriend deserved the full show. Perfect. Dinner was everything I expected. A giant overcrowded table, grandparents, neighbors, second cousins, chatter and laughter, wine and candles. An extra seat crammed in beside me at the far corner like an afterthought. Mom wore pearls. Dad carved the turkey with his ridiculous electric knife. Tyler gave a toast to family and everyone cheered like we were some Hallmark miracle. No one asked about my job. No one asked what I was working on. No one noticed that I hadn't touched my food until the moment came. I have a gift for the family, I said, smiling. Something I put together. Just a little celebration of everything we've shared. The room fell politely quiet. Dad perked up. Well, that's sweet of you, Em. I passed the book across the table. Mom took it first, beaming. Ah, how thoughtful. She opened the cover, and then I watched it hit her. Her smile froze. Her fingers went stiff. Her eyes flicked down the page, then up at me, then back down again. By page 4, the color drained from her face. Dad leaned over, peering at it. What's this? He grabbed the book, started flipping. Faster now, then slower. Then he stopped altogether. No one else at the table could see yet. I let the silence thicken. Finally, Mom looked up. Her voice was tight. This is unfair. I tilted my head. What part? Tyler, poor clueless Tyler, reached over and snatched the book. What's going on? He read one page, blinked, then another. Whoa. I just smiled. Perspective is a funny thing. Mom turned red. Emily, this is not the time. It's exactly the time, I said, sweet as pie. Thanksgiving is about gratitude. And I'm grateful. Truly. You taught me how to thrive on my own. Dad tried to laugh, but it cracked in his throat. This is petty. Vindictive. I stood up smooth and calm. No, Dad. Vindictive would have been sending this to everyone here in advance, or mailing it to the neighbors, or posting it online. But I didn't. I brought it just for you. Around me, the room had gone still, forks frozen halfway to mouths. Tyler was staring at the letter in the back jaw slightly open. I leaned forward, placed my hands gently on the table. You always told me I was independent, that I didn't need the same things Tyler did, that I'd figure it out. I looked them both in the eye. I did. Then I grabbed my coat, turned to my stunned relatives and said, "Thank you all for dinner," and walked out. It was quiet at first. Then I heard the murmurs start. Someone gasped. Someone else said I had no idea. But I didn't stop walking. I had delivered the gift, and now they'd sit with it. The air outside that house felt different, crisp, almost electric. I had walked out without slamming a door, without yelling, without needing to burn the place down. And yet somehow the damage had already been done, surgical, clean, irreversible. I didn't go back. Not for pie, not for small talk, not even when Aunt Lisa texted me from the bathroom saying, "Holy hell, you really did it. I'm so proud of you." Instead, I went back to my rental car, sat behind the wheel for a minute, and let myself breathe. Really breathe. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and untied a knot that had been there since I was 12. Then I drove to the one place I had always gone when I needed clarity, the overlook behind my old high school. From there, you could see the whole town laid out like a toy set. It all looked so small from up there, every heartbreak, every lie, every moment I thought would swallow me whole. That night, I slept in a cheap motel off the highway. No family house, no forced hugs, no pretending. And it was glorious. The next morning, I boarded my flight back to New York and never looked back. The months that followed were unlike anything I had experienced. For the first time, I wasn't chasing their approval or wondering if I was enough. I wasn't exhausting myself trying to please people who never clapped when I won. Instead, I started clapping for myself. I dove into my internship with a new kind of energy, fierce, unapologetic, driven by something deeper than ambition. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I was just building. For me. My supervisor, Dana, noticed the shift. "You've got something," she said one day, after I presented a story pitch in the weekly meeting. "It's like you don't care if they like you just know you're right." I grinned. I stopped asking permission. She laughed, but I could tell she meant it when she added, "Don't lose that." 3 weeks later, she called me into her office and offered me a permanent position on the editorial staff. I blinked at her like she was speaking another language. "You mean, after the internship?" "No," she said. "Now." That night I walked home through the city with my heels in one hand and a bag of takeout in the other, grinning like I'd just robbed a bank and gotten away with it. I called no one. I didn't need to. My victories no longer required witnesses. It wasn't just my career that transformed. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since I was 17 when Mom told me that art was a lovely hobby but not a future. I cleared out the corner of my apartment and turned it into a makeshift studio, just a table and easel and the courage to create without an audience. I painted late into the night, faces, stories. One canvas was just a bright red dress against a black backdrop. Therapy helped too. I found a black woman therapist named Renee, who didn't flinch when I said, "I'm not here to fix my relationship with my parents, I'm here to fix what it broke in me." She nodded. "We don't have to make peace with the people who hurt us, but we can stop letting their voices echo in our heads." I showed her the book. She sat with it in silence for a long time. Then she looked at me and said, "This is art." That was the first time I believed it. That I was art. Not something to be edited, not something to be trimmed down to fit their table, but something whole, complete, worth hanging up. The holidays came and went. I stayed in the city. Tyler sent a half-hearted text, "You really blew up Thanksgiving, LOL. Hope you're good though." I didn't respond. Mom didn't reach out at all. Dad emailed once in January. The subject line was blank. The message read, "We got your point," loud and clear. I left it unread. By spring, I had made new friends, real friends, women who clapped loudly and told the truth, who never made me feel small so they could feel bigger. One night, sitting on a rooftop with wine and bare feet, my friend Callie said, "I still can't believe you did that Thanksgiving thing. That's like movie-level revenge." I shrugged, smiling. It wasn't revenge, it was documentation. She laughed. "You should write a book." I looked at her, really looked, and the idea didn't feel impossible. It felt inevitable. So I started writing. At first, just small essays, then longer pieces, stories about daughters who outgrew their cages, about women who stopped whispering and started roaring, about what happens when the child who was always dependable becomes the woman who says enough. One of my essays was picked up by a major women's magazine, another by an independent literary journal. Suddenly my inbox wasn't empty anymore. Publishers, agents, readers. And yet the best part, I didn't feel the need to send any of it to my parents. Not even once. I changed my number. I blocked them on social media, not out of spite but for peace. Because peace isn't something you wait to be given, it's something you claim. They had made their choices over and over again, and I had finally made mine. I chose me. The Emily who didn't need applause to know she mattered. The Emily who no longer answered to the people who taught her how to disappear. And I thought that was the end of it, that I had finally closed the book. But one rainy Thursday in May, just as I was finishing a draft of a piece titled "The Cost of Being the Reliable Child," a message came. From a name I hadn't seen in years. One that unlocked a door I didn't know was still bolted shut. Nina, Tyler's girlfriend. Subject, "We need to talk." What I opened in that email, what she told me, it changed everything I thought I knew. And suddenly my so-called revenge, it looked more like a warning shot. Because the truth was still hiding, and it was darker than I ever imagined. Nina's email was brief, almost too brief. Just a few clipped lines like she wasn't sure how much to say or how much I was ready to hear. Hi, Emily. I know this is unexpected, but I didn't know who else to talk to. I found something and I think you need to see it. I don't trust anyone else in your family, and after what happened at Thanksgiving, I think you'll understand. Can we talk, please? Nina, it could have been anything. Maybe Tyler was cheating. Maybe Mom had said something awful. Maybe it was just drama and she wanted an ally. But something about that line, I think you'll understand, it hooked into me. Because I wasn't done. I had made peace with what they did to me. But what if there was more? I replied that night, gave her my number, and by morning she'd already texted. We met at a coffee shop downtown, neutral ground. She looked nervous. Not like the bubbly, polished girl I remembered from Thanksgiving. This version was paler, tense, like she hadn't slept in days. I'm sorry for just showing up in your inbox, she said, sitting across from me. I didn't know who else would believe me. I leaned in calm but alert. Believe you about what? She hesitated, then pulled out her phone, scrolled, opened a photo. It was a screenshot of an email thread dated about 2 weeks before my graduation. My mother's name at the top, my father CC'd, the subject line, RE Emily's tuition balance, and there it was plain as day. Hi, Susan. Unfortunately, we won't be able to cover Emily's remaining balance as we discussed. With Tyler's situation being so fragile right now, we think it's best to direct those funds toward his mental health support and stability. Emily will figure something out. She always does. Thanks for understanding, Laura Patterson. I stared at it, my mouth went dry. It wasn't just that they hadn't paid, it was that they had made a conscious decision to reallocate what was supposed to be my graduation gift. They'd negotiated it. Discussed me like I was a business expense they could cut. And worse, they'd lied. To me, over and over. I looked up throat tight. How do you have this? Nina glanced around, then lowered her voice. I saw it on your mom's computer. She left her email open while we were helping her prep something for church. I wasn't snooping, I saw your name. Saw. And you screenshotted it. I knew if I didn't, they'd delete it, and no one would believe me. She was right. No one would have believed her. Not the family. Not even Tyler, probably. I sat back. The buzzing in my ears started again. That old familiar static that came every time I realized I was not crazy. I was just inconvenient. You said you found something else, I asked. Nina nodded. I wasn't going to say anything. But I think they've been doing this a long time. To you. She pulled out another photo. This time a picture of a check. Dated 5 years ago. Made out to Tyler. $10,000. Memo for moving expenses. The timing. The exact same month I'd asked them for $300 to cover textbooks. They had said they couldn't afford it. Nina looked at me, her eyes wide and uncertain. I think they've been funneling money to him behind your back for years. I believed her. Of course I did. Because it fit, like the last piece of a sick puzzle. Every time I'd wondered if I was being paranoid. Every time I'd felt like I was asking for too much when I asked for the bare minimum. They had fed him behind closed doors while watching me starve emotionally, financially, and otherwise. I closed my eyes. A strange calm settled over me. This wasn't just favoritism. This was erasure. Systematic. Intentional. They had chosen to diminish me, to neglect me so thoroughly that even I had started to believe I deserved less. And yet here I was thriving. Despite it all. Despite them. Nina touched my hand. I'm sorry, I didn't know what to do. I smiled. It wasn't warm. You did exactly the right thing. That night I didn't sleep. I wrote. I opened the same folder I'd used for Operation Red Dress. I added the emails, the checks, the screenshots Nina sent after she got home. And I wrote a piece. An essay. No names, no revenge porn, no burning it all down. Just a story about a girl who had been forgotten and how she decided not to forget herself anymore. About what happens when silence becomes survival and then survival becomes power. I sent it to my editor without thinking, titled it, The Gift of Being Overlooked. 2 weeks later, it went viral. The magazine released it online before the print version came out. Thousands of comments, shares, emails from readers saying, You wrote my life. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't need to. Because someone did it for me. A family friend, a cousin, maybe even Aunt Lisa. All I know is that one morning I got a letter, handwritten, from my mother. Emily, I read your article. I know it's about us, about me, and it hurts, a lot. I never realized how much damage we caused. How little we saw you. I thought I was doing what mothers do, helping the child who needs the most help. But now I see I didn't see you at all. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I finally hear you, and I'm sorry. Mom, I folded it slowly, put it in a drawer. Then I went to my tiny studio, picked up a fresh canvas, and painted a red dress on fire. Not in anger, but in release. Because this wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about becoming whole.